Hey everybody, it's Kory. Thanks for joining me, and here it is. That's my property tax bill, and it's proof that taxes can actually go down. And in this video, we're going to talk about how they went down. We're going to talk about property taxes in Idaho and how they work. And more significantly, we're going to talk about why property taxes going down is important. Let's get into it. So, it's no secret that the name of our video channel here is Live Better in North Idaho. We even call our website Live Better in North Idaho. And the reason for that, we argue that you can live better in North Idaho. When we started this channel in 2016, it was easy to argue, especially when it came to the price of real estate, that you could live better here because the prices were below the national average. Well, in the last 8 years, as more and more conservatives flee to our area and there's less property to meet that demand, the prices have gone up. And now prices are above the national average. And that makes it tough to argue, hey, if you come to North Idaho, it's easier to live because your real estate's cheaper. So we can't necessarily do that. And what it's done is it's caused many people who wanted to live here to skip over us and to move to other states where it's more affordable, places like Texas, Tennessee, Florida, or places out in the Midwest. And I get that. But I still make the argument, even with higher real estate prices, that you can live better in North Idaho. And one of the principles that we stake that claim on is that we live in a conservative and an increasing conservative environment. What does living in a conservative culture look like? Liberty should be a primary principle. You should have clean cities, safe cities. Law enforcement gets backed by the community. And your legislators at the state level should actually act conservative. It's one thing for legislators to call themselves conservative. It's another thing for them to act conservative. And I'm the first in line to argue that our legislators can act more conservative here in Idaho. But we got to give them their credit where credit is due. And last year, they enacted House Bill 292. And what that bill did was it gave surplus general fund monies back to the taxpayer. And here's how it worked. The Idaho House saw those general fund surpluses and said, hey, let's give those monies back to the property taxpayers because that's where the money comes from. So they went through the Senate, got up to the governor, and the governor said, you know what, I like the idea of returning money back to the taxpayers, but I'd also like to use this money to improve some of the infrastructure, things like roads and schools. Well, in the end, they decided to modify the original bill, and it came out this way. They gave property tax money back to the property owners in two ways. One, they returned money back to the school districts to build their facilities up. And the way that this helps property taxpayers is here in Idaho, in order for school districts to get funding to build their infrastructure up, they get part of the money from the state, and then they have to go and get the other part of the money at the local level, and they have to beg and ask for money from the local taxpayers. Most of the time it goes down in flames because the locals don't want to pay another tax. So the legislators said, hey, let's alleviate some of that tension and we'll give money back through the general fund to the schools. They can improve their facilities and not have to feel as much tension to come back to the local taxpayers. The second way that the legislation gives money back to the taxpayers is directly. And that's what we're going to look at right now. I'm going to show you in real time how the taxpayers got money back by showing you our personal property tax statement. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at Bonnie and my property taxes on our personal residence. For the year 2022, we paid $4,467.15. That was based on a taxable value of $938,386. That is after they took the $125,000 homeowner exemption off of the assessed value. So our assessed value would have been this exemption plus the taxable value. So our home was assessed at just under $1.1 million. Our taxable value, however, is going to be $938,000, and that's after the homeowner's exemption is subtracted. What is a homeowner's exemption? A homeowner's exemption is what everybody in Idaho gets if they live in their primary residence 6 months and a day. And by calling it your primary residence, they just take that $125,000 off of your assessed value, and that is the basis for your taxes. What we see here in these line items, this is what everybody who lives in Kootenai County pays for these different services: airport, county fair, district court, health unit, historical society, justice fund, etc. And then below that, based on where you live within the county, you're going to have different bonds and levies. For example, we live in the East Highway Road District. These are the roads that we use within our area. An East Side Highway District maintains those roads. If I lived in Coeur d'Alene City, this would read Coeur d'Alene City. Another example of a bond or a levy here, you can see that because we live in a rural district, our water is maintained by Kootenai County. If you lived in the city of Coeur d'Alene, this would read City of Coeur d'Alene. All right, going back to what we paid. Again, this is the year 2022. We paid $4,467 in property taxes. Let's look at 2023. You can see here that our property taxes went down to $3,612.95. Why did our property taxes go down? Well, you'll notice that there's a line here called state credit. That was House Bill 292. And we'll look at that here in just a minute. Our taxable value actually was down. We were assessed less for the year 2023 on our property because property values went down. If you remember, as we document on this channel, in the summer of 2022, that was the peak of our property prices. And since then, our property values have come down about 10%. And when they assessed our property, you can see here that they assessed it at a percentage lower than what it was the year 2022. And that's why our property values reflect being down here. One could argue that our property taxes went down because our assessed value went down. And that is not necessarily the case. The reason our property taxes went down is this right here. It's called state credit. And remember, we talked about 292 and how the legislators gave money back to the property taxpayers. That's what you see reflected here. If we go back to our tax statement in 2022, that state credit, you don't see anything in those line items. So again, here's your state credit. There's nothing there because there was no kickback from the state in the year 2022. It was the year 2023. So going back to 23, you can see here that each line item has a reduction from the state. And in the end, Bonnie and I saved $779.95. So again, here's 2022 and 2023 compared to each other. Remember, our tax base was $938 in 22. It went down basically $29,000. The state credit in 22 was zero. The state credit in 2023, again, $779.95. The homeowner's exemption savings, and this is where we defute the argument that, well, your property taxes went down because your property was assessed less. It saved $7.91 by being assessed $30,000 or $29,000 less. So it didn't save us much, basically $8. And then we had a bond levy differential between the 2 years. So bond levies, they're complicated. I really don't know how to even explain it to y'all about how it breaks down. But between these 2 years, we ended up paying less in our bonds and levies by $66.34. So if you take the state credit, the homeowner's exemption savings here of $8, and then the differential in the bonds and levies year over year, we paid $854.20 less in 2023 than we did in 2022. So what does that look like for our effective tax rate for the year 2023? Well, we paid $3,612.95. And that is the percentage of what going into $909,000? It is 0.397, basically 0.40. And I'll take that. Our effective tax rate for the year 2023 was basically 0.40 of 1%. And I argue that's a pretty darn good property tax effective rate. So there you have it. A real case where real taxpayers actually got money back from their state government. And I'll be the first to argue, our state legislators can do more to take less of our money and to return the money that they've taken. But it's a step in the right direction, and it's a step, honestly, that I don't think too many states are doing. I could be wrong. If you live in a state where you're seeing your property taxes go down, leave a comment down below. As we wrap things up, I hope this helps you guys understand a little bit more about how property taxes work in Idaho and the direction that our legislators are going to help us live better in North Idaho. That's it for now, you guys. Take care. Bye. Thanks for watching the video. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kory Martinelli. My wife Bonnie and I own a local real estate team based in Coeur, Alene, Idaho. Our personal journey to live better began in 2009 when we relocated our young family to North Idaho from Ventura County, California. We wanted to raise our family in a place rich with outdoor recreation and in a culture that treasured our strong conservative values. Leaving family, friends, and church was not easy. Perhaps the scariest decision was to leave behind 21 years as a deputy sheriff with Ventura County and finish my career with a new agency. But I did it and finished serving out my 3 decades in law enforcement as a deputy with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Department right here in North Idaho. While I was doing the easy part, working in law enforcement, Bonnie diligently raised our 2 children, battled breast cancer into remission, and started her real estate career part-time. Talk about a winner. After retiring from law enforcement in 2016, I joined Bonnie in real estate and we went full-time forming the Martinelli Realty team and this video channel. Since then, we have successfully navigated one of the most aggressive and competitive real estate markets in America to help over 300 families relocate to North Idaho. In that time, Bonnie has been recognized as one of the top 1% producing real estate professionals in the entire country. It is this experience that we have gained in the market that forms the foundation of our videos. If you are wondering if you can live better in North Idaho, we dedicate this channel to you.